Well, hello there. It's algebra time. I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a pretty good day too. I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about some addition and subtraction. We're going to be kind of keeping to that subject one more time, and then we'll move on to something else. So I'd like you to get your notebook out if you would, and also work on this little warm-up. It says, here is an expression, 7 plus negative 10. Go ahead and pause this video and use either a number line, balloons and weights, or red and black squares to simplify this expression, 7 plus negative 10. Go ahead and pause, and when you're ready, come back. All right. So hopefully you got an answer. You might have used a number line or balloons and weights or red and black squares to simplify this, and so I'm going to go through each one of those techniques to remind you how you can do it. Remember that that expression is telling us something specific. It's saying start at 7, go in the positive direction, oh no wait, go in the negative direction 10 places. That's what we're being told by that mathematical expression. And so let's see, we're going to put some lines on our number line here. Hopefully it'll be enough. And we're going to put our 7 down because that's our starting place. We're going to start at 7. And then this plus sign here says to go in the positive direction. But then this negative sign by the 10 turns us around the other way and tells us to go in the negative direction. And then that 10 tells us how far. So we start at 7 and go in the negative direction 10 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we just have to figure out where we are. Well, if we're going in the negative direction, this is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And so our answer is negative 3. Okay? Actually, that's not a good place to put that. I'm going to put it down here and get rid of it from here because I want room to do balloons and weights. So that's how you do it on a number line. Now with balloons and weights, I can't draw balloons as you saw from the last video, so I'm going to use circles. And weights, I'm just going to put the letter W. It's kind of like my last name. Anyway, we write the number of balloons as the positive amount, and then weights will be our negative amount, and then we just cross things out. So if we're using balloons and weights, we have 7 balloons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we have 10 weights because the 10 is negative. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It looks like it says ow, 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 ow. And then you just cross out these pairs. So these guys cancel, and you just kind of keep going through and matching up balloons and weights until you have nothing to match anymore. And notice that you have 1, 2, 3 weights, and so the answer is negative 3. All right? Now you could also use red and black squares, keeping in mind that red is negative and black is positive. The number of black squares would be 7. We would have 7 black squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the number of red squares would be 10 because we have a negative 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then just like with balloons and weights, we can cross things out that match up. And when you can't match anymore, you have an answer. We have 3 red squares or 3 negative squares, and so our answer is negative 3 every single time. Now, figuring out which one of these methods works for you is just a matter of practice. But notice that they really only work well when numbers are really, really small. Because what if the expression was, 67 plus negative 122? I definitely wouldn't want to draw 67 black squares and then 122 red squares and then start canceling out because, you know, I'd like to do something other than math during my day. And so when numbers are small, these are nice. But there has to be other tricks, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking a little bit more about addition specifically and how you can work to an answer when numbers are bigger. So I'd like you to open that notebook now. This is hopefully sort of what your first page of your notes, the one that was the topic from last time, addition and subtraction, with the essential question being, how can you evaluate simple equations? This was the notes that you took when you watched the last video, and my handwriting is really big and sloppy, so I don't have all the notes that you have, but I have enough so that we can do the questions part. So now that we're on those notes about addition and subtraction, we can start writing questions for those notes. And here's the idea. You're going to write questions in the column that says questions that is answerable by the notes that you have taken. So, for example, when I'm looking at this first part that says 4 basic math operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, a good question that could come out of this would be, what are the 4 basic math operations? Oh boy, my pen doesn't want to write all of a sudden. Come on now. That's no fun. Come on, board. Start working. Oh, well, of course it wants to scribble. All right. This question is answerable by the notes that are next to it. And then if I go down to the next chunk of notes, that 2 plus 2 equals 4 and a number line, I might write a question that's something like, how can I use a line to solve? That would be a good question for that part. And then below that, I've written in what that mathematical sentence is saying. It says, start at 2, go in the positive direction 2 places. And a question that I could write myself about that would be, what is the math sentence I hope that's spelled correctly, saying? Now you could write different questions, and you have more notes than I have, and so you'll write more questions as you go down these this questions column. The idea here is you're looking at a chunk of notes, whatever that means to you, and you're writing a question for each chunk. Now that whenever you do that, you've now looked at your notes again, reviewed them, and interacted with them in a different way. This makes it so that you can remember what's in these notes a whole lot more. Furthermore, you're creating for yourself a chunk of notes that you can use to study. Let me show you what I mean. Oops. Come on now, Miss Waite, you got this. There it is. Now, when you go to study for a test, you can cover up the notes part and quiz yourself on those questions that you wrote. What are the 4 basic math operations? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and then you can check yourself from your notes. So that is the power of writing questions in your notes. You create for yourself a set of study questions, and you also interact with your notes more so that you can remember more about what's in these notes. So pause this video right now and write yourself some questions for those notes that you took last time we were together, and then we'll move on. Okay, so let's start on a new page of notes. You're going to flip that whole page that you were working on just now, and you're going to go to page 2, and you are going to write at the top of page 2, the topic first, addition and subtraction rules. And then right underneath that, write the essential question, what are the rules of addition and subtraction? Once you do that, flip your notes back to your table of contents. Underneath that first entry in your table of contents, write this topic, addition and subtraction rules. And then off to the right, write a number 2. Because now when you want to find addition and subtraction rules, you know that all you have to do is go straight to page 2. So pause the video again and get that business done. All right. Now divide up that page like we talked about back here with a space at the bottom for summary, draw that line for questions, and now start to take notes in the biggest section. And we'll go back and write questions about this later. So you don't have to write down everything a teacher tells you in notes. I wouldn't put any of this in a notes. This is just an introduction to the subject that we're going to be talking about. Last time we talked about ways of adding and subtracting using number lines, balloons and weights, red and black squares. Each of these things can help you solve an addition or subtraction problem, but it's not the whole picture. It's just tricks to kind of wrap your head around it, and they only really work when numbers are really small. Today, we're going to talk about rules of addition and subtraction and how knowing them makes solving problems easier. So here we go. Now, these are the kinds of things that you want to write down on notes. The rules themselves are going to be really handy, and when a teacher is writing, that's when you should be writing. So, I'm going to give you the rules, and then we'll talk about how they work. So, rule number 1 is this. If the numbers have the same sign, add them. The answer gets the sign that has more. Again, we're going to talk about this in just a second, so just write it and then we'll talk about it. Rule number 2, if the numbers have different signs, subtract them. The answer gets the sign that has more. So let's talk about what these rules are telling us. So there's 2 situations that we're talking about, and it comes down to knowing the sign of numbers. What that means is whether or not the number is positive or negative. You're going to pay attention to positives and negatives. And if both numbers are positive, then you'll add them. If they're both negative, you'll also add them. If the numbers in your equation have the same sign, you will add them. And then this part, the answer gets the sign that has more. I think the best way to talk about that would be in terms of an example, and we're going to do that next. So I'll explain that a little better in just a second. Rule number 2, if the numbers have different signs, again, we're talking about positives and negatives, you're going to subtract them. If one is positive and one is negative, you'll subtract them. And then the answer gets the sign that has more again. Okay, so there's your 2 rules, and we're going to be using these. And you can pause this and make sure you have this written in your notes. And then let's do some examples. So example 1 looks like this. Evaluate the expression -35 plus -18. Now, see how these numbers are a lot bigger, and drawing 35 red squares and then 18 more red squares might take you some time. We can use these rules to kind of shortcut that process. Remember, rule number 1 says if the numbers have the same sign, you add them, and the answer gets the sign that has more. And then rule number 2 says if the numbers have different signs, subtract them, and the answer gets the sign that has more. So let's talk about that. What you want to notice is that this 35 is negative. This 18 is also negative. So they have the same sign. They are both negative. So that helps us decide which rule we're going to use. Notice that rule 1 says if they have the same sign, which is where we are here in example 1, so we're going to use rule number 1. And then we don't have to worry about rule number 2. We're only going to pick one of them. And it tells us what to do. If the numbers have the same sign, add. And so we're going to add 35 plus 18. 35 plus 18. Well, let's see. 8 plus 5 is 13. Carry the 1, 3, 4, 5, 53. Good, so we've got 53 so far. And then the sign is going to be the one that has more. So let's talk about more. If you just look at 18 and 35, which one of those numbers is bigger? 35, right? Since that 35 is negative, your answer is also going to be negative. They're both negative, so it's hard to go wrong when you're adding, just so you know. So the answer to this problem is negative 53, and the reason why we know is because we saw that the numbers had the same sign, so we added them together, and then we gave the answer the sign that had more. 35 is bigger than 18, and so we say that the answer is negative. Negative 53 is our answer. So let's do a couple more, just so we can get the idea. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Now here's our rules again. We have 27 and negative 13. 27 and negative 13. So if you look at rule number 1, it says if the numbers have the same sign, and rule number 2 is if they have different signs. Which one should we pick? Yeah, rule number 2 for sure, because those signs are different. 27 is positive, negative 13 is negative, and so we don't need rule number 1 this time. All right? So now, if the numbers have different signs, subtract. Okay? And so we'll take 27 and we'll subtract 13. We have 7 minus 3 is 4, and 2 minus 1 is 1, and so we have 14 in our answer. And then it says the answer gets the sign that has more. Well, which one is bigger, 27 or 13? 27's bigger, and so our answer is positive. And math people at some point just decided if an answer is positive, you don't write a plus sign next to it. So our answer is 14. Okay? All right, taking a look at example 3. Let's clear out our rules so we can pick the right one and scribble out the one that doesn't work. Looks like we have a negative 19 and a positive 36. So rule number 2 again, right? Because those numbers are different. Rule number 2 is what we're going to use. So we're going to subtract those numbers. We have 36, and we'll subtract 19. You always subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. Now let's see. 36 minus 19. Well, 6 minus 9 doesn't work, so let's turn that into a 15. and then borrow 10 from there. So what's 15 minus 9? 6. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. Actually, I did something wrong, didn't I? Oh, nothing like having a math teacher make a mistake. Let's look at this again. We're right about choosing rule number 2, that's for sure. We're right about choosing rule number 2. The problem was with the subtraction. We still want to take 36 and subtract 19. Problem was here. Because 6 minus 9, we've got to kind of change it up a little bit. And so instead of the 15, we need to have a 16 there and still borrow from that 2. So 16 minus 9 is what? 7. And 2 minus 1 is 1. Oh, sorry about that, you guys. Yeah, we're good now. So we got 17 so far. Okay? And then the rule goes on to say the answer gets the sign that has more. So you have to just look at the numbers themselves. Ignore the negative signs for now. Which one of these numbers is bigger? 36 is bigger. And so our answer stays positive, and we're done. The idea here is, well, first of all, notice how you can make mistakes and not die. Even your math teacher makes mistakes while they're making a video. I was tempted to edit it, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it in there. People make mistakes. It's okay. Anyway, the idea is that you have 2 rules, and these rules can help you solve these math problems in a way that is much better, especially when numbers are bigger. And you don't want to draw a bunch of red and black squares or a huge number line. So I would encourage you to go back and take a look at those examples again if you don't understand. But today our topic was addition and subtraction rules. We are going to practice on Google Classroom. You will find a form that you're going to fill out and submit it to me. The essential question today was, what are the rules of addition and subtraction? My hope is that you can answer that question. But if you can't, you know that I'm here to help you. You can come during our optional class time, and you can also come during office hours. Y'all, it's good to spend time with you. I wish we could actually be in person, but I hope that I'm helping with these videos. Anyway, hope you have a great day, whatever you're doing. Get a little algebra done or get a little math done, and then go do something else. All right, have a good one.